My son is in prison. He has 5 phone numbers that he can call. Those are the only family members who have maintained their jobs through the financial crisis and can accept his calls without worrying about the cost of those each month.
Just this month, my bill was like $138.
Even at one phone call a week cost me $40 to $50 every month.
Lowering the prices of prison calls will also make for better inmates. When they have that communication outside, it shows in the inmates' action.
I am living on a fixed income of SSI, so this is really a great hardship. Families are being punished. When they incarcerate your children, they incarcerate the whole family.
They're just taking advantage of people that are already in financially bad situations and exasperating it, breaking up families and preventing reentry and rehabilitation and family reunification.
My hero's not yours. You probably arrested them. Your schools probably neglected them. They spawn thoughts. You probably infected.
For most of us, making and receiving a phone call is a simple and affordable process. But for the 2 million families of prisoners, the cost of receiving a phone call from most prisons in the U.S. is outrageously expensive.
I tried to accept calls from my brother. If I put $40 on the phone, that was 2 phone calls.
Telephone companies like GlobalTel Link and Securus pay prisons a percentage of their income in exchange for being the only provider at that facility. These payments, known as commissions, can be as high as 62%, and the additional cost is passed on to families in the form of higher phone rates, surcharges, and fees.
Mi hijo que está prisionero en la Robertson Unit en Abilene, Texas, y es un problema que la última vez que me comuniqué con él fueron alrededor de 10 minutos cada vez y cerca de $30 por cada llamada. Eso es un robo, es ridículo que aparte de la condena que están sufriendo con mi hijo que tiene ya más de 10 años y prisionero y que no podemos saber cómo va su proceso de rehabilitación porque no podemos hablar con ellos.
Studies show that prisoners who maintain strong connections with their families are less likely to recommit a crime after they're released. Regular contact has also proven beneficial for the children of incarcerated parents by improving their self-esteem and leading to fewer behavioral problems. Unfortunately, over 50% of prisoners are incarcerated at least 100 miles from their families, making regular visits difficult. Phone calls and letters become the primary way these relationships are maintained.
Hey, Uncle Mike, I love you. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and this is Crystal. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Love you. I
love you, Uncle Mike. I love you.
My name is C.J. Smith. I'm calling to give a message to Andre Pearson. He's at Atwater, and I'm his aunt. And Teddy Bear, I just want to let you know in this time of the year that I love you, and I miss you, and I wish I could see you.
I'd like to say, Daddy, we love you, Daddy, and Crystal says she loves you too. Merry Christmas, and hope you get home soon.
Long-distance phone calls from one state to another are the most lucrative calls in the prison telephone industry. These calls help pay for the more than $100 million in commissions that states receive every year. 8 states have passed legislation to ban these commissions, leading to more affordable phone rates, while attempts to address this issue at the federal level have not been as successful. For a decade, a proceeding known as the Right Petition, which would lower the cost of interstate prison phone calls, has been sitting at the Federal Communications Commission.
The Federal Communications Commission has the power to pass the Right Petition and cap the cost of interstate prison calls. And by doing that, they can actually make our communities safer, our families stronger, reduce recidivism. There's so many reasons to make this happen.
It's crucial that we get the right petition granted through the FCC. Not only will it immediately grant relief to hundreds of thousands of people who are paying these really high rates for interstate phone calls, but we also think that it serves as a really good model, an example for states and local jurisdictions that are looking to do the same kind of reform.
Martha Wright is a namesake of the Right Petition, and she is a grandmother who lives outside of Washington, D.C., who first dealt with this issue when her grandson was sent off to prison. She started receiving these monthly phone bills which were just exorbitantly high, and she eventually opted to to sue these companies because they were charging way too much for these phone calls.
And for 10 years, Mrs. Martha Wright's plea for change sat idle until in 2011, a renewed effort called the Campaign for Prison Phone Justice began calling on the FCC to address the cost of interstate phone calls.
The Campaign for Prison Phone Justice has been an effort that's been going on for the last 2 years. A group of media justice activists came together with a group of criminal justice activists and decided that it was time to take another run at getting the right petition passed by the FCC.
Following a call to action by the campaign, hundreds of letters written by prisoners poured into the FCC. Advocates and families all over the country filled out postcards, met with elected officials, and signed petitions. Partnerships developed with new and diverse voices from across the political spectrum and in unlikely places. The film distribution company, Participant Media, and director Ava DuVernay joined the fight through a social action campaign tied to the release of the feature film Middle of Nowhere. The film chronicles the story of Ruby and her struggles with her husband's incarceration. The Campaign for Prison Phone Justice hosted a screening of the film at the Federal Communications Commission, which was followed by testimony delivered by Mrs. Martha Wright. After 10 years of waiting on the FCC to act, this moment marked the first time Mrs. Wright had shared her story with the Commission.
It has been a little bit over 2 months since I've seen my son. 2 months since I've heard my son's voice. I write my son every week. I write to him because I'm unable to call him. I need him as much as he needs me.
In an effort to push the FCC to act, the campaign hosted a historic rally outside of the Federal Communications Commission where for the first time, families of prisoners, elected officials, civil rights and faith leaders came together to call for an end to predatory phone rates.
When I say safe, you say community safe. Community safe. Community.
We're all held captive when predatory phone companies gouge our families.
My son has been incarcerated now for over 10 years, and my husband estimates that in the time we spent over $25,000 on prison phone calls.
We ask you, dear God, for an end to the practices of huge corporations that provide communication to the citizenry of this nation, but prevent families of the incarcerated from speaking to their loved ones because of excessive cost of telephone calls.
As somebody who was formerly incarcerated, my mother paid anywhere from $9 for a 15-minute call to $38 for a 15-minute call. If we are to be a society that truly believes in fiscal responsibility, as well as a moral responsibility, we must end the predatory practice of gouging families with outrageous telephone rates.
I have been working with Chairman Janikowski and my fellow commissioners and our wonderful staff to grant the right petition and issue a notice of proposed rulemaking that will lead to lower interstate long-distance rates from correctional facilities. The chairman is moving forward with this action, and I am thrilled to report to you today that he has indeed circulated a notice for a vote by my colleagues. But a commission vote alone will not solve this problem.
What's next for the campaign is that as stuff progresses on the federal level with the FCC, we will also be opening it up to support statewide campaigns for prison phone justice.
Here's what you can do to get involved. Go to phonejustice.org and pledge to be a prison phone justice champion. Contact your legislators because your legislators need to hear from you. And lastly, contact the Federal Communications Commission and let them know to do the right thing and pass the right petition.